So, Matt, please introduce yourself and your company and where you're calling from today.
Thank you, Joe. My name is Matt Muenster. I'm Chief Economist at Breakthru. Breakthru is a transportation solutions company focused upon sustainable fuel and freight solutions for enterprise shippers. We work with businesses internationally in managing their transportation energy costs and their broader costs in moving their freight around the globe. We're a 22-year-old business, been around since 2004. Our core technology, which is called fuel recovery, offered the market an alternative to legacy fuel surcharge practices, and a very data driven alternative that brought transparency into the market and brought transparency into shippers' fuel reimbursement practices. Our focus at that time and as the business has grown is always to bring data and information into the heart of our transportation management and solutions. And so at our core, we began managing the cost of energy along truckload moves, but doing it in a way that took into consideration the geography of the move, the actual lane the truck was moving along, the price of fuel along the lane, other elements of those prices that matter, like the actual tax along the lane, price differences on a regional basis, and those dynamics that could occur across the lane, as well as accounting for more real-time and accurate reimbursement practices that focus upon the cost of energy each and every day. And so this brought a new alternative into the market. We've grown considerably from just managing the energy on truckload movements. We're really focused on moving on reimbursing energy across any mode of transportation, and do so today across truckload, rail, intermodal movements, international maritime movements, even managing emissions on international airtime movements. And I have really grown as we've accumulated the data and information from each and all of those moves. Today, Breakthru as a business is responsible for energy management on about 47 million shipments annually. It accounts to more than 35 billion in transportation spend across our companies that we work with, our clients that we work with. There are more than 16 billion transportation miles in our data ecosystem now, and we're managing an aggregate of more than 2.5 billion gallons of diesel fuel, which is a hot topic in the market these days, especially where we sit it on in second week of April.
Yep. So just so I can clarify here, so you guys aren't actually moving freight for anybody.
We're not. We're managing the data and information in those movements to help provide transparent cost, service, and emission solutions to enterprise shippers.
Yep. And you don't have I like this because you're not a 3PL, you're not a carrier, you're not a broker. You're kind of the maybe the referee where you say, this is what this gas costs. And before we hit the record button, you and I were talking. And I think as a shipper and as a 3PL, I've experienced this where you go, that's a really good price. And then you're trying to figure out later how they make the money. And then somebody smarter than me comes back and says, oh, they made us so much money on this lane. I go, how'd they make so much money? The fuel surcharges. and that is always a suspicion that a lot of shippers have, is that somehow somebody's getting paid without me knowing. And I think most of us feel strongly, I want my carriers, the ones that I like, I want to continue to work. I want them to do well. I want them to make a profit. I want them to continue to like me and say, yes, Joe, we want your freight. What I don't want is somebody making money in a way that I don't understand.
Exactly. You want to ensure that the way they're making money is in line with market movements, that represents the rates that exist in the market, that it represents the all-in cost that should exist in the market. And that, to your point, that something as volatile as fuel can be transparently accounted for and is treated as a pass through between the parties in the contract.
Right, right. So, and I know there's also, am I right to say people talk in terms of like weekly? Well, that's the weekly price for diesel. And you guys get a little more incremental about that?
That's absolutely correct. The most common surcharge in the market, especially until Breakthru entered it, was the Department of Energy's weekly retail index for diesel. It is weekly. It is on a lag. It's treating this week's diesel price through last week's diesel prices, which is a little confusing. So operating on the 1 week leg. It's also a one size fits all. It's a national average and at a retail price. And we know through fuel procurement practices that a well-managed carrier can do better than a retail price through various means, just like you and I hopefully don't just drive up to a retail station and are purchasing our passenger gasoline at the pump price. Typically at major chains, you can receive 5% simply through a fuel card or other means. And so those practices are in place. They're very proliferant, especially in commercial transportation, and just the actual market cost that's present, not only for the truckload market, but for any international mode of freight transportation.
Yeah. So in theory, I could, so let's just say I'm the carrier and you're a shipper, and I say to you, "Hey, Matt, I'm a square operator. This is what the DOE says to use. This is what we're using." And you go, "Yeah, Joe's a straight shooter." What Joe didn't tell you was that I'm buying at a great discount to that. And you just go, "Well, that's just part of the way the business works." And I'm not saying you want to necessarily take the money away from me. You just want to know how I'm compensated.
Correct. It's about having that transparency in the market, transparency in those transactions.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So who are your customers and what problem are you solving for your customers?
Our customers are large enterprise shippers, usually with over a billion in revenue, tends to be the footprint, something along the lines of a Fortune 500 footprint internationally. The problem we're solving for them are creating and bringing sustainable fuel and freight solutions into their network. And what we've done as our company's grown, our data and visibility to data has grown, is much more than simply energy management. It's really a holistic approach to ensure that transportation strategies are durable in any market, and that whether it's being executed from a procurement standpoint, operation standpoint, that data and information and transparency we're able to create with our data can be used as an asset for those shippers to make great decisions through any market cycle. And so the problem that we're solving is bringing transparency, data, and insights into all of those different decisions that need to be made, whether by procurement or transportation ops professionals, in the interest of enabling them to consistently make positive decisions and change for their transportation supply chains.
Yep. And by the way, we are talking today, April 13th. The U.S. is now going to blockade the Strait of Hormuz. Now, that doesn't mean all stuff isn't going to get through. Some stuff's getting through. No Iranian stuff's going through. And at the same time, and again, you guys know this, I don't. I just see the news. Supposedly, we're going to open up some other, strategic reserves could be opened up. I heard the U.S. is able to fill the gap. But for the average shipper who's saying, I'm not an economist like Matt, I don't have insights on, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what I should be paying. I don't even want to worry about it. I want somebody to bring that in for me. So it's not just understanding how carriers bill, it's understanding what the markets are doing. And that's today's topic, is navigating energy markets.
There's plenty to navigate. Calendar year 2026 is not the market that we expected it would be, especially for transportation energy costs. Coming into this year, we thought the more pronounced point of interest, and it still very much is, would be line haul rates and freight rates as we entered a new cycle. We had upward pressured in calendar year 2025 across truckload line haul rates, especially in the spot market. That persisted in the beginning of this year. And we were expecting that was going to be a topic of conversation, especially the availability of trucks in North America. However, shocks do happen. And you had mentioned shippers wishing they had a crystal ball. You can add me to that list. Certainly wasn't expecting a supply shock of this magnitude in calendar year 2026. Just as I had not expected, or we had not, our research and economics team had not expected this kind of a shock back in 2022 with different set of geopolitical circumstances, but it's the market we find ourselves in. We think about unpacking the shock for shippers. The first among several reactions is really trying to grasp, okay, what's the magnitude of this shock? What kind of duration might it have? and ultimately what's the impact it brings to our budget for calendar year 2026, when we were likely thinking our domestic diesel price per gallon, for example, among many other energy types that are impacted, but our domestic diesel truckload price per gallon could have ranged between $3 and $3.50 on a national average. It can vary significantly regionally, but say that was the expectation on a national average. Well, now in national average terms, we're looking at diesel gallons that are near $5 a gallon at the wholesale level nationally, approaching $5.50 or more at a retail level nationally. Regionally, state of California and the West Coast has seen diesel well over $7 per gallon. Other regional markets are catching up in a way. The coast had it worse first in the month of March, and centrally plain states and the upper Midwest are seeing their diesel prices catch up to that. Internationally, it's had a pronounced impact in the market. So there's really no getting around the fact that although we have great domestic energy supplies, it's an international energy supply shock. It's an international energy crisis. And so internationally, freight transportation costs, especially the energy that's moving networks, have significantly become a factor in a year at which we thought we might have a very well supplied market and this be a non-issue.
I will say this though, nobody has a crystal ball, even Matt Muenster. But you guys, when that shock happens, you've dealt with this year in, year out, month in, month out for a long time, so you know how to look at it and you know what to expect from it. It's not like you're can forecast it without information, but you guys have that information.